and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1884, and today's date is June 4th, 2019, and the title of the episode is Central Bank Projects Their Next Move, Boom, Right on Schedule, Control. So I have a question for you. Are we looking at the start of the next stock market crash? You can see that it has been a long upward run for stocks, but recently the market has started to topple. The big question is, how far will the market fall? And during this time, Noble Gold, they have been getting their clients to buy precious metals as a hedge against their pension funds losing massive chunks of their investments. If you're worried about another market crash, give them a call at 877-646-5347 and make sure you mention X22 Report or click the link below. Let's get into the economic collapse financial news. Well, it looks like the Patriots have done it again, and everything is happening right on schedule. What do I mean by this? Well, we know that Trump and those individuals behind him working towards getting rid of the central bank, they want the central bank to do certain things. Now remember, they just can't come out and say, listen, you need to do this, and then the central bank goes ahead and does it, because the central bank will not look independent. This is part of the plan to continually make it look like the Federal Reserve is completely independent and Trump has no control over the Federal Reserve. They're making their own decisions on their own. And this has to be this way to keep the mainstream media, those bad people in the central bank, off the back of the Patriots. And this is exactly what they're doing. This is part of the plan. And we're going to be talking about how much control the Patriots now have a little bit later in this report. But let's start off out in the UK. We understand that the BREXIT is still in flux. We know the Brexit party, they are gaining, and I do believe they're going to be getting some seats in Parliament. And who knows, maybe even now Nigel Farage, maybe he'll become the Prime Minister. Trump believes this might even happen. He's ready to make a deal with the UK. He wants the Brexit deal. Actually, he's all for a no-deal Brexit. And we can see that the European Union, we can see that certain individuals, they are very nervous about this Brexit deal. They don't want it to happen. Once this happens, the entire system goes into flux. Other countries are going to look at this. Other countries are going to observe. And then you're going to see other countries maneuver in the same exact way, which means the EU, it looks like the clock is ticking down. Now, very interestingly, we know that the UK is having a problem with the British steel industry, and the Brexit party, they have announced its common sense economic plan for British steel. Now, what they're trying to say here, and this is coming from party chairman Richard Tice, he said, steel is a strategic national interest. Our view is that we in this country, our government, should be able to decide what is required to protect, preserve, and invest in such ventures. And of course, as we all know, if you're a member of the European Union under state aid rules, you can't do anything, which is why we're in the pickle we're in. Currently, the government is running around trying to find private sector buyers to keep it going. Well, all you're doing is retread of the existing situation where Grey Bill bought it for £1 from Tata. We've got 2 blast furnaces in this country. When you shut down a blast furnace, it's terminata. When it goes cold, that's it. So what's needed is a completely different type of structure, what we call a strategic national corporation, which would blend a long-term patient government capital, private sector capital, and expertise, as well as some employee motivational involvement in the corporation so that actually the employees themselves benefit as they improve productivity. We think that this is sort of approach that government should be taking for things like steel. Now, you might find that unusual for what is considered to be a party on the right, but it's what we call common sense politics. Now remember, they really don't have any seats yet in Westminster, but they are pushing forward an economic plan. The people are going to hear this economic plan and they're going to agree because it's common sense. And remember, this is not part of the European Union. This is not part of the good old boy network plan. This is the people's plan. where they're trying to maneuver and pivot away from what has been done in the past to make the country great. And this is what the central bankers are afraid of. Think about what is going on right now. If all these countries make their country great without the central bank, without the elite, what is the elite? What is the central bank going to do? Everyone's going to look at them and say, we're better without you. This is their biggest fear. They don't want people to understand this. But the people are waking up. This is their biggest fear. Now, if we look here in the United States and we look at the central bank economy, it is continually falling apart. I mean, if you look out in UK, their economy under the European Union, under the elite, it is falling apart. If you look at any country around the globe, under a central bank economy, a private central bank economy, it is falling apart. Countries go into debt. The central bank controls that country. And the central bankers, they are panicking right now. But here in the United States, we can see the central bank system imploding on itself. Remember, there are two things happening right now. We have the central bank system, which is imploding, and we have the new economy, which is coming in, which Trump is trying to transition us into once it is established. And we are getting very, very close to this. Now, if we look at factory orders right now, they were revised lower from March from 1.9 to 1.3, which prompted April's 0.8 decline to look slightly better than the expected 1.0 decline. Now, we know that they manipulate numbers, they play with numbers to make things look a lot better. But again, under a central bank economy, the system was not created to flourish. It was created to do well in the beginning, to make everyone think that everything is great, to stagnate in the middle, and then decline in the end. We're at the end stage right now. Trump and the Patriots, they know this. This is why they're moving very quickly to keep the system alive. Now, we know there's nothing that Trump can do with a central bank economy. It will implode on itself. There's nothing you can do. The debt level is just way too high. The weight of the debt is too much for the system. And when you don't have enough tax receipts coming in, when you don't have enough people working, guess what? The interest, the debt, it completely takes over. But for months, Trump has been pushing the Federal Reserve by tweeting out to cut interest rates, to make the economy take off like a rocket ship. Now Trump is pushing tariffs on many countries. Yes, this is being used to equalize trade for the transition, but he is also using this push to push the Fed in a certain direction. Remember, just because something happens, it doesn't mean it's not part of many different agendas. Remember, he needs the mainstream media, the deep state players, to think that the Fed is independent and is not making the decisions from Trump, that they're making decisions on its own. So his latest move allows the Fed to use this as a narrative. We need to lower the rates because of the trade wars that are happening right now. We need to lower the rates because we're nervous that the trade wars will make the economy decline. Think about what's happening right now. The Fed has a narrative, a story to tell the mainstream media, to tell the deep state, to tell the bad actors within the central bank. This is why we need to lower rates. Because we're nervous and afraid the economy might not survive. And right now, Fed Bullard says weak U.S. inflation and global trade tensions may warrant a rate cut. And he went on to say, and this is coming out of CNBC, a U.S. interest rate cut may be warranted soon, given the rising risk to economic growth posed by global trade tensions as well as weak U.S. inflation. So already they're projecting out there that a rate cut is coming. Well, that didn't take long. When did we say a rate cut was going to occur? Most likely by the end of the summer, beginning of the fall. Are they preparing for a rate cut? Absolutely. Who's in control? The Patriots. Let's take this a step further. Powell in a surprising twist, said with the economy growing, unemployment low, and inflation stable, it's time to rethink long-run strategies. He's hinting that both QE and ZIRP, and perhaps NIRPs, are now on deck. But wait, there's more. Because in the clearest indication that the Fed is panicking about losing control over inflation expectations, Powell said that my FOMC colleagues and I must and do take seriously the risk that inflation shortfalls that persist even in a robust economy could precipitate a difficult to arrest downward drift in inflation expectations. Translation: not only is the Fed ready to cut rates, but it may take unconventional tools during the next recession, NIRP, and even more QE. They're already projecting out there that they're ready to start stimulus. They're ready to push the rate cuts. And this is going to be well before a recession. This is the narrative that they're putting out there because they're projecting out there what they're about to do. And they're getting the mainstream media, the American public, used to this idea. And they're doing it independently. Who's in control? The Patriots. Now, is this going to solve the economy's problems? Absolutely not. Trump needs this to get through the 2020 elections. This is why he's doing this. He also needs the time to continually make deals, bilateral trade agreements, remove regulations, and put everything into place for this major transition, when we transition away from the central bank system. He understands and he knows that this system will not survive and people are going to get hurt. This is why he's working so quickly to move the entire economic system into the new system. Now, we said this before. This is not like this is the first time this has been done. It has happened many times before. During the time of Andrew Jackson, he removed the central bank and moved the entire system into a new economic system. In 1971, we had a gold standard system and we moved into a petrodollar standard system. Now we're moving from a central bank debt-ridden system into a people system, which will be backed by sound money. So this is not the first time this is happening. But in our lifetime, this is the first time we're going from a central bank system, which is heavy on debt, where the value of the dollar has been decreasing, where the central bank is completely exposed, where the Patriots are going to use this to their advantage to take down the central bank system. And this is actually the perfect time, because the central bank system right now is completely exposed to the world. The world is watching. They don't have an event. They don't have anything to cover it up. And all the leaders around the world can use this and point to the central banks to say, you are the ones who are in control. You are the ones who couldn't keep the economic system going. And guess what happens next? The people get angry. The governments take action, which means they look into the central bank system. Go back to 2008. When the system came down, they blamed many other things. And they took actions against not the central bank, but everywhere else where they had bailouts, which they allowed the central bank to create stimulus and do things they would have never been allowed to do. Now they're going to use a crisis to do the opposite, to expose the central bank, to audit the central bank, to show how they're a criminal enterprise. This time around, it's not going to work in the favor of the central bank system. It's going to work in the favor of we, the people. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.